you need really to deal with crises based on their causes, not just because of their outcomes. You go and see the screens red if you are trading in the market and say, well, we saw that in 2008 or 97, let's do what we did. No, it is a completely different crisis. It needs a whole of nation approach. It needs a whole of government approach. It's not just ministers of finance and central bank governors. It needs everybody in the system. It needs the SDGs that we neglected. It needs the Paris Agreement to be put as well, because we don't need to sacrifice the future while we are very busy for very good reasons with the present. I mentioned health, but here there's something else about health. Rami, my colleague, said, well, we mentioned health before. I told him, no, this is another thing related to health. The health that we talked about is the emergency to deal with COVID-19, with Corona. The other health is SDG 3, which is the Sustainable Development Goals. Everybody now is thinking, do I have a good health insurance? Do I have a good primary health care provider? Do we have universal health coverage in our country? This system, please check SDG 3. And that's why I'm saying each line of these SDG 3 is like, when you put the details and targets, it's like few items there. Invest in education, knowledge, and human capital. You'll see different people acting differently based on their education, their sophistication, their culture. Why Singapore and Korea are succeeding? Because they have this kind of a system of education that had their human capital much better than others. The discipline, the knowledge, the reaction to disasters and problems is much better in societies that take their education seriously, especially in the age of digitalization. And here I'm referring to SDG 4. This is the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 that you need to consider in digitalization. I'm happy that during the last 2 weeks, I was telling Rami and my family here that during the last few years, I got acquainted with many applications, including this one and others, that I was not really educated about using, and so far I'm still learning. But this is the basic kind of learning. Many people are going to be in the development side of this, so their learning requirements will be bigger. Then the fourth one is about focusing on economic stimulus. This is, stimulus, I heard this word before, it's the financial crisis. No, this is a completely different way of doing it. And the financial crisis, we did it through a sweeping action. I was part of the team that supported the system back home in Egypt in 2008. And thanks God, we had the 2004 to 2008 on the financial reform. But the 2008 was about a banking and a financial crisis. This one is not. It's about health crisis, economic crisis, and social crisis. So we need to prioritize economic policies. We need to pay attention to the people and the business. People and the business. The previous one was business and people and the financial sector. This one, people comes first. You need the cash transfers. You need to consider universal income in some countries. You need to have targeted support and bill out for the companies and corporations that are requiring some help and support. So reminding you of fighting poverty, SDG 1, reminding you of inclusiveness and equality, which is SDG 10. And actually, just to pause here, in the future, it will be very hard really to move on without having a cash transfer system in countries and societies. It will be very hard to convince people to work in the private sector, kind of high risk kind of business or lines of business, unless they have good social support. Public education needs to be good, health needs to be good, and transport needs to be good. These are the public provisions. And then you need to, in addition to that, you need to have cash transfer system, a kind of a critical minimum to cover the basic needs. Even if you are Mr. Rich in your society, you need to be enrolled because you could be rich today and you could be vulnerable tomorrow. So, and then when you pay your taxes, there will be deductibles. So if you say, for instance, we will be giving every person in the country 1,000 Egyptian pounds, for instance, just a figure. So you say, well, you give that to the poor and the rich. And then when you tax the rich based on the new digital system, you tell Mr. Rich, thank you, you got from the system £1,000, that has to be deducted from you in addition to your taxes. For Mr. Poor, you tell her or him, you need to keep that, and there are other provisions for you. But everybody has to be part of this new technology that can avail to you through digital transfers a minimum of support for your requirements. If the time comes, you just need to press a button and get it. If you don't need it, thank you, it will go back to the state. How is it going to be funded? There is a funding system. Please refer, just type in your Google ILO universal income or World Bank universal income or universal income period, and you will get many of the interesting proposals there.